There's a story of a class of children. The teacher gave them the direction, take out a piece of paper. Now on this piece of paper, I would like you to draw a line. At that point, the teacher was taken out of the room. He had to go talk to the principal. And so the kids waited a couple minutes, and still the teacher hadn't come back, so they decided we might as well start working on our assignment. So each of them drew a line. The teacher still wasn't back. So they decided that they would compare their lines to each other. So little Billy took his line and compared it to little Sally. Sally's was a little bit better than Billy's. Sally compared it to Johnny's, and Johnny was really good, but somebody else was a little bit better. And eventually they figured out who had the best line in the class. After several minutes, the teacher came back, and he said, well, I didn't finish the assignment. You're supposed to draw a straight line with a ruler. So he took his ruler to each child's page and drew a straight line with this ruler. And even the best in the class didn't have a perfectly straight line. They didn't measure up. They were good, but they weren't as good as the perfect example. God is telling Amos that he will provide that perfect example. And we know that perfect example is Jesus Christ. A man who walked among us and was perfect. A man who walked and hung out with tax collectors and sinners, but wasn't happy to leave them that way. A man who wasn't just man, was also God. And a man who laid down his life for each and every one of us. He set a standard. God set a standard. Are we righteous? Are we righteous? Our desire is to be righteous before God so that we may be able to stand before Him. And the term righteous also means upright. To meet that standard. So Amos brought this instruction to Israel. He went to Amaziah, the priest of Bethel, and he spoke to him. And Amaziah wrote to the king and said, for this is what Amos is saying, Jeroboam will die by the sword, and Israel will surely go into exile away from their native land. Something happens when we speak the truth. Something happens when we speak the truth and we proclaim the gospel to people who don't want to hear. They will attack us. There are three ways that Amos is attacked in this passage that we need to be careful about as well. We can't avoid it, but it's good to know what's coming. First off, Amos was attacked by misrepresentation. Amos was attacked because Amaziah told Jeroboam that Amos said Jeroboam will die by the sword and Israel will surely go into exile away from their native land. What he actually said was the high places of Isaac will be destroyed and the sanctuaries of Israel be ruined. With my sword I will rise up against the house of Jeroboam. Amos didn't say Jeroboam will die by the sword. Amos did not say that. As a matter of fact, Jeroboam lived for a full age. He died an old man. Amaziah misrepresented what Amos said to try to get him into trouble, to try to cause problems for him. And people do that to this day. When we'll talk about sin, they'll call us hypocrites. When we talk about salvation, they'll say that we're narrow-minded. They'll say that we're intolerant. When we talk about judgment, they'll say that we had a bad upbringing. They will attack us. But we just come back with the truth. We just go back to the manual. Amos continued to proclaim the word even after lies have been spread about When Amaziah spoke to Amos, he said, "Get out, you seer. Go back to the land of Judah. Earn your bread there and do your prophesying there." Second attack is attack of self-interest. If I can't get you by lying about you, spreading rumors about you, I'll try to convince you to leave through your own interests. If you leave, if you go back to Judah, you're not going to have people upset with you. They'll listen to you in Judah. Earn your money there. It's part of Amos's reply. What am I going to do back in Judah? I'm not a prophet. I'm not a prophet's son. I'm a shepherd. And I tend sycamore fig trees. I'm just a commoner. There's no hope of that for me. God has called me here. I haven't come here for money. I came here because God called me. Do you think I want to be here? Amos has no desire to be there, but goes because God calls him to. He doesn't like being attacked. And he's attacked one more way. Don't prophesy anymore, Bethel, because this is the king's sanctuary and the temple of the kingdom. He's attacked by authority. He's attacked by the fact that this is the shrines that were set up by Jeroboam. This is the place set up by Jeroboam. If you're preaching against Jeroboam, guess what? You're going to get in trouble. Guess what? You're going to get arrested. You're going to get thrown in jail. Are you sure you want to do this? Remember several weeks ago I talked about doing hard things. And one of the hard things was to go against what the law, what people understand the law to be, and trying to fulfill what God has called us to. For Amos, this was very blatant. He was speaking against the king. God had called him to go and to proclaim to the king that what you are doing is wrong. You're on a wrong course. Get off this course. God has provided the plumb line. Can you line up to it? You need to line up to it. In doing hard things I talked about, there are cases where people are afraid to take their Bible to work because they might lose their job. You got people who feel they can't lead a Bible study in school because they'll lose their job. You got people, this is a true thing, you got people who can't even send scriptures to their sons in jail because they'll cut out all the references to Scripture. We have to fight for the freedoms that we have. Like I said last week, we have to fight. We're in a country that gives us these freedoms, but we have to fight for them still. Freedom is not free. We have this plumb line to line up to, and we all cannot stand up to it on our own. We all cannot measure up to it on our own. But we do have the example of Jesus Christ, who through dying on the cross will prophesy, will make us righteous before God. On the cross, he will hold us into that straight line, into that uprightness. It's not anything we can do on our own. It is only through God's grace. It's very hard to submit like that, but it's what we're called to do. Like I said, Jesus hung out with tax collectors and sinners, but he loved them too much to let them stay that way. Jesus Christ hangs out with you and me, but he wants us to be different. He wants us to stand out, and he wants us to trust in him. That even when we're attacked in all these different ways, that we can have the courage to tell other people about him and about the hope that comes in him alone. And that we can live out our